Thanks, guys, for attending this afternoon's webinar. If you have any questions, please remember you can post them in the questions tab, and one of our account managers will get hold of you at the end of the session. In today's webinar, we are going to be looking at why the VMware Cloud Provider Program is the right choice for you. I'm Rob Yates, the VMware Cloud Brand Manager within FD, and you can see my email address, rob.yates@firstdistribution.com. So let's get into it. So in today's webinar, I'll be covering the multi-cloud market context, VMware Cloud Provider's virtual data center for private cloud as a service, and the service provider programs, which is your VMware Cloud Provider Program and the Managed Service Provider Program. So if we look at the multi-cloud market context, we will build this out and then I will break it down for you. So the customer will either be having their own private cloud, or the customer will have a data center residing at a co-location. Now, when we're talking about the customer, it could be based on a hyperscaler like AWS, and VMware has VMware Cloud on AWS, or it can be within the Google Cloud Platform, where there's VMware Google VMware Engine, and then there is also an Azure offering known as Azure VMware Solutions. What's important to note is VMware Cloud on AWS is managed and run via AWS. The Google VMware Engine and the Azure VMware Solutions are both run by the vendors themselves. So the Google VMware Engine is run via Google, so you would sign up with that through the Google program, and same with Azure. And then obviously there's also the VMware private clouds and public clouds, which I've mentioned, and the VMware Cloud Verified. So with the VMware Cloud Verified, the VMware Cloud Provider offers data sovereignty, flexibility, and customization. And with that standard, you know that the VMware environment is set to all the latest standards and regulations within VMware. So you as the VMware Cloud Provider would then be the trusted advisor for multi-cloud journey, monetization opportunity with managed services for multi-cloud. So if we look at what you can offer built on the VMware platform, we're looking at security, we're looking at compliance, connectivity, storage, disaster recovery, backup, migration, extension, which is your DR, and we're looking at operations and visibility. So if we look at the foundation for the hybrid cloud, customers have many options available to them. There's the customer managed, where they can manage the environment themselves based on customer infrastructure known as the private cloud. There's the VMware managed, which is where VMware manages the environment, which can be based on AWS infrastructure in the instance of VMware Cloud on AWS, or on Dell EMC infrastructure when we're talking about VMware Cloud on Dell EMC. There's also the partner managed, which is VMware Cloud Provider infrastructure. Over there, like I mentioned with Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud, there's also an IBM Cloud offering, there's an Oracle Cloud offering, and as I touched on earlier, there is also the VMware Cloud Verified. And if we look at all of this, this is based on the VMware Cloud Foundation. So VMware Cloud Provider's VDC for private cloud as a service, so delivering a localized cloud experience with customer intimacy. So you as a cloud provider within South Africa, you can offer local data centers, local expertise and support, local language, local contracts, local billing, local currency, local relationships, flexible T's and C's, and easy to do business with. I mean, what a pleasure. Why would you not want to do business with a VMware Cloud partner that is offering you all of that transparent detail as is? So the VMware Cloud Director. So when we're talking about the VMware Cloud Provider Program, a lot of the time your VMware Cloud, your customers are going to be accessing your website, and you'd love to have the functionality where they can place their order and it can be provisioned right there and then. And we intro VMware Cloud Director. So this is what you would use to be able to provision that. So we're talking about a multi-tenant management platform. So, you know, you could have tenants, which could be tenant A, tenant B, tenant C. You would have the catalog. So literally these guys would be logging in, would then be choosing, which sort of virtual data center are they looking for? Are they looking for virtual data center 1, virtual data center 2? Are they looking for software-defined data center? And basically your VMware Cloud Director is your central infrastructure as a service framework. And that can be on a shared vCenter where you could have one vCenter for multiple tenants. It can be within a dedicated software-defined data center, or it can be an on-prem vCenter software-defined data center. So the features are self-service user interface and API for tenant consumption. So the API is just your hooks that will connect to the different ways in which you can provision your environment. So as I said, you can create and manage VMs, you can create and manage networks, and you can manage third-party ISV services. So with that in mind, you're looking at driving your cost efficiencies, no API integration required to expose new features, improve customer experience, enables consistent self-service through a usage interface. So now, if you have a small customer that has 5 users and they want to set up a small data center with networking, with storage, with compute functionality, they can click and choose and hit submit, and they can have their environment up and running on the fly. Okay, so hybrid and multi-cloud, consistent cloud services across hybrid and multi-cloud. So if we look at your hybrid and multi-cloud environment, it's either going to be based upon your partner data centers, customer data centers, and your hyperscale data centers. So the hyperscale guys we've spoken about, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform, can be on the customer data centers, or it can be on your partner data centers. And all of this is put together to create the VMware software-defined data center, which, if you think of that term, you're talking about vSphere, which offers you your compute functionality, vSAN that offers your storage, and NSX, which is your networking. And as mentioned before, you would have a layer on top of that, which would be your VMware Cloud Director, and then that would be partner branded, which could be public, private, hybrid, multi-cloud, and the user would have the experience. And then through this, the user would decide, okay, which of my professional managed services are we going to choose? Are we going to go with infrastructure as a service, Kubernetes as a service, networking, security, backup or disaster recovery, storage as a service, operating system monitoring and management, application monitoring and management, DevOps as a service, desktop or workspace as a service, professional services, extensibility, which is your DR, and more. So you'll see that you are allowing yourself access to all of these services that you can offer out to your end customers. So the VMware Cloud Verified, which I've mentioned to you before. So obviously you as a partner are stating to the world that you are verified to the utmost level that VMware is asking for. But you as a partner, what are the benefits for you? So VMware customer base, ready and waiting to move workloads to the cloud. VMware promotion of Cloud Verified and partners with supporting service offerings. So VMware will gladly do marketing for you around that. Partner promotion of compatible cloud solutions that meet customer needs now and in the future. So aside from VMware promoting the Cloud Verified and the partners, VMware is also happy to advertise the partners' compatible cloud solutions. Usage and benefit of VMware cloud technologies, and leverage VMware development funds to drive demand and awareness via campaigns, content, collateral events, and more. So what is the VMware Cloud Provider Platform? So I touched on it basically before, but if we look at it as a whole, if we start at the bottom on the left-hand side, you have ESX. That is really the layer that you would install your operating system on. You have NSX, which is your networking. So that would be your software-defined networking. You have vSAN, which is your virtual storage area network, which is VMware's software-defined storage. You have the VMware Cloud Director, which remember is a layer that you're going to use via your website to advertise your services that your end customers can pick and choose and have ready for them. Okay, there's the usage meter. The usage meter is important because with the usage meter, you would use your reporting, or rather, let's say you'd use it to do your reporting on a monthly basis to VMware so that VMware can bill you accordingly. Then these are all the core components that are required to build your cloud provider platform. Then there's the non-core components, which is the additional VMware technologies that you can add. There's a vCloud extender from a scalability perspective, where you can scale out so that you've got more server space available to you. You've got vCloud availability, which is from a DR perspective. You've got vRealize Suite, a great suite of products that you can use to manage your environment. So if you see, you've got the core components required and the non-core components, which are optional. And put that together, and you're talking about focused on interoperability, performance, and multi-dimensional scale. It includes core and non-core software components. And in a nutshell, the cloud provider platform is a certified reference design, the CRD, consisting of a pre-validated, pre-tested solution of VMware infrastructure to address cloud provider deployments. CRDs are inspired by best practices of VVDs, which is your design, your VMware verified design, and design for cloud providers. So the VMware Cloud Provider Program consists of two models. You have the two different models. You have the software rental model and the MSP model. The software rental model is what VMware would refer to as your asset-heavy model. That is where you need to have your own data center, where we're talking about the aircon, the physical space, the server rack, your hard drives, your power supplies, that sort of thing. And that is managed by you, the service provider. There's also the asset-light model, which VMware calls the MSP model, which is the managed service provider model. That is where the environment is managed by VMware. But that being said, even though it's managed by VMware, you can still white label the environment and sell the services as your own. So with this in mind, VMware is covering both bases. They're saying, okay, you want to be part of the program, you want to sell VMware, but you don't want to invest in the technology that the VMware is going to be based upon, or if you want to have your own data center, you can look at it. So they're the two different models speaking to the two different types of, let's call it financial models. So if you look at the evolution of next generation managed services, so back in the day, your cloud services were based on the core offerings, which was infrastructure, which looks at infrastructure as a service, network as a service, your DM as a service, your professional services where you could design, deploy, migrate your VMware cloud environment, your managed services of networking, security, storage, backup, DR. And then from there, the services moved on to the next gen, which is called standard, which is your hybrid cloud. And with that, we're looking at infrastructure, your VMware Cloud Director, which is a private cloud on-prem. There was the VMware Cloud on AWS, your professional services, where you can offer advisory services on the environment, where you can do an assessment of the environment. Is it better to keep your workloads within the private cloud, or is it better to move it out into a public cloud? Your managed services would look at web and OS management, database management, security and compliance. The next level is the advanced level, the multi-cloud, where you're looking at native AWS, where you're looking at your VMware Cloud Director services on VMware Cloud, which would be based on AWS. Your professional services. So now you're going to transform AWS to VMware. You're talking about your managed services, where you're looking at application management, virtual desktop, optimization, looking at costs, governance, automation, and your vertical expertise. And then the last level is the next generation, digital transformation across multi-clouds. So there you're looking at your infrastructure, which could be native Azure, Azure VMware Solutions, your CDS on AVS, your managed services, your application modernization, where you're looking at Kubernetes and dev operations, your digital workspace, your machine learning, your automated infrastructure services, your Internet of Things, edge services, business outcomes, service level agreements, all of that sort of thing. Then your two different service provider programs, which I touched on earlier, which looks at the power of and a critical partnership. So there's VMware leadership position in the enterprise and your unique cloud specialization. So VMware software-defined technology and your flexibility in hardware for tailored solutions. Then there's a combined customer value proposition, easiest low-risk way to move to the cloud. And then you also have your VMware Cloud Provider Platform with extensibility and your value-added differentiated services. So our VMware Cloud and your managed services. So that's why we're talking about the power of and. Then if we look at the VCCP partner personas, so you could be a cloud builder, you could be the cloud IT team, or you could be the app platform services. And your cloud builders are focused more around the infrastructure centric, whereas your app platform services are more focused around the application centric. If you look at application centric, that is to make the business more efficient. And if you look at infrastructure centric, it's self-explanatory, it's to make the infrastructure more efficient, and it's all based upon the cloud operating model. Now, if we look at the evolving cloud partner landscape, so you've got your cloud builders, you've got your asset-light providers, and you've got your cloud-native MSPs. Now, if we take that all into consideration, successful partners often embracing power of and by spanning all three segments. So your successful partners could be cloud builders, could be asset-light providers, and could be cloud-native MSPs. And how do we enable partners to unlock these new business opportunities? So with that in mind, how First Distribution enable partners to unlock these new business opportunities? First Distribution's vision is to be your VMware aggregator of choice by assisting you in your cloud journey, where our VMware Cloud Provider team are there to help you with your reporting and compliance, which is key, your billing, your commercial aspects of the VMware Cloud Provider Program and related support, marketing and business development, and then last but not least, sales and technical training. So VMware Cloud Provider Program, your cloud, your way. So if you look at the VMware Cloud Provider Program, you have a single unified starting place which eliminates complex decisions. Purpose-built and standardized ensures predictability and consistency, and built from solutions majority of our cloud providers use. So in this picture, we are looking at simplicity and we're looking at the Core Flex bundle. Now the Core Flex bundle is 7 points, and included in that are the different categories of support, compute, networking, metering and billing, and management. If we go one step further and we look at the products, support included in the Core Flex bundle is your production level support. If we look at compute, you have your vSphere Enterprise Plus, which is the platform that it's based on, it's your foundation, and then that you would manage using your vCenter service standard. Networking it comes with NSX data center service provider base. With your metering or billing, you have your vCloud usage meter, you have your vRealize operations chargeback, and from a management perspective, you have your vRealize log insights and your vCloud director. Now you would use this to build out your VMware cloud, and each of the products you can use to offer different services. Now, with this being said, you can create different sets of services and combinations. So imagine that the Core Flex bundle is your margarita pizza, and now you want to add a bit of chicken, you want to add a bit of green peppers, you want to add some mushrooms, that sort of thing. So this is where it would come in, where you would, for example, add your VMware vRealize Operation Advanced. Maybe you want to put in a vRealize Suite Enterprise. So you would have your core bundle, which would be your 7 points, And then depending on which of these available other products you want to add in, you would just add in and it would look at those various points. So the VCCP program software rental model unpacked. It's a license rental on pay-as-you-go basis for service providers. Receive an amendment to the VMware product EULA to allow for hosting, because normally the EULA states that the software belongs to the end customer and is licensed to the end customer's name and the number of sockets that they have in the environment. Now this EULA is changed because we are giving you the software to deploy on your data center, which can reside anywhere, and you're going to use that to build out the services as I've discussed with you. You can use the VMware software on a monthly subscription basis with a 12 months commitment. You pay only for what is consumed with no upfront costs. Products are priced in points, typically measured in gigabits of RAM used for each product or bundle. So you'll look at your allocated RAM, you will divide it by 50%. It is capped at 24 gigs. You will look at the amount of uptime. This is all read and registered within the usage meter, times by the 7 points. It's all automated. It's all reported within the Commerce portal, and that is how it is billed out. Monthly charge includes production level support. You can purchase products in bundles for higher discounts. Enjoy larger discounts with an increased minimum commitment. So as you go up the tiers, VMware wants to acknowledge the fact that you've invested in the program, and as you consume more points, so your price per point comes down. And in a nutshell, all of this gives you the opportunity to deliver vCloud powered and vCloud data center services and become part of one of the largest public cloud ecosystems in the world. So an example of how the billing works. So let's say you have a total count of 16 virtual machines and your total allocated RAM is 64 gigs. So your VRAM billed to the service provider will be 64 gigs times by 50%, which will be 32 gigs. Now, if you're looking at virtual data center B, you could have the total count of powered on VMs of 8. The total allocated RAM would be 32 gigs. Again, you say 32 gigs times 50%. VRAM is 16 gigs. The total billed to the service provider for a 30-day month, which is 720 hours, you would be looking at the total VRAM charge would be 48 gigs. So it would be 48 gigs times by 7, which would give you 336 points. So that's how you go about getting your points, but you don't need to worry too much about that because you don't have to sit there and physically work it out. It's all done for you by the usage meter. So now if we look at your cloud services portfolio, this is what you could offer your end customers. From a runtime environment, you could look at using VMware Cloud on AWS or VMware Cloud on Dell EMC. From a multi-cloud management and operations perspective, we can use the likes of Cloud Health, vRealize Log Insight Cloud, vRealize Automation Cloud, vRealize Operations Cloud, vRealize Network Insight Cloud, Cloud Market and Bitnami, your Cloud Director service, your Tanzu Observability by Wavefront, your HCX, Carbon Black, and Tanzu Mission Control. From an edge perspective, you could look at offering Horizon Cloud, Workspace ONE, SD-WAN by VeloCloud. So these are all the different services available from VMware within the MSP space that you can offer to your end customer. When it comes to further information on this, there are different requirements for the different programs. So if you want further detail, it's better to reach out to your account manager and we can schedule a call to explain to you. So if we have a look here, VMware has 2 routes to market. In our VMware Cloud services, partners can be in both. So if we have a look, you can have your solution providers, which can be resellers and value-added resellers, where VMware owns the support and terms of service, and then you are just reselling VMware services, as in the MSP model, or support in terms of service is owned by you, the service provider, and then you're wrapping those services around and making it available to your customers. And that's the end of my session. Thank you. If you've submitted any questions in the questions and answers section, we'll get the account managers to get back to you on that, and thank you for your time. Cheers.